Okay. The topic we're treating in this lesson is variation. Okay. Want to talk about what variation is. In mathematics, we consider actually mathematics always finds a way of you know using numbers to interpret things that happens in the world in the society. That's what mathematics do, and it does that logically. Okay, so in the world, okay, in the society, things happen. There is always fluctuation, and whenever there is a fluctuation, whenever there is an increase in something or decrease in something, it tends to affect other things, all right, simultaneously, at the same time. Okay, so mathematics finds a way of trying to find this relationship, this balance between two things that are related, okay, and how a change in one can affect a change in the other. And that's what brings us to variation. Actually, variation is um, a mathematics that deals with the relationship between two things, and the behavior when there is a change in one. All right, that's just what variation is. Let me bring this home for you. You know, if as a family, usually, to feed the family, you use you okay, there is a budget to feed the family with 1000 naira in a day. Okay, this is just for this purpose. Okay, I'm not trying to say. All right, so there's a budget to feed a family with 1000 naira a day. And this budget is not changing anytime soon. Okay, but a cup of and we choose to eat rice. Okay, we choose to eat rice. A cup of rice is 100 naira. Let's assume that. So if a cup of rice is 100 naira, let's say the cost. So we have cost and we have quantity. Okay, like we have cost and we have quantity. We have 1000 naira to spend. Now a cup of rice, let's say it costs if it costs 100 naira, we are going to be able to buy 10 cups of rice. Okay, yeah, so there is a relationship between the cost and the quantity that will be purchased, right? Now let's say something else happened, and the cost of a cup of rice now becomes 200 naira, but nothing has happened to this guy. This one is still here, it hasn't changed. So that means the quantity that will be bought will now become 5 cups of rice, right? So you see this relationship. This is what we call variation. So the increase in the cost brings about a decrease in the quantity. You see that? So that's variation. And this is one case of variation. There is another case of variation where an increase leads to an increase in a particular quantity leads to an increase in another quantity. Let's look at something like let's say you have 10 hours 10 hours to cover a distance. Okay, 10 hours to cover a distance, right? And if you run with 200 kilometer per hour, if you run with 200 kilometer per hour in your car, right, per hour, you're going to cover a distance of 2000 kilometer. All right, you have 10 hours, so I just did 200 times 10. All right, because you're running 200 kilometer per hour in 200 kilometer in 1 hour, right? Now for the whole of 10 hours, you're going to have run 200 times 10. Okay, that becomes 2000 kilometer. Now let's say you still have 10 hours and you increase your speed to 400 kilometer per hour. All right, this will mean that what you will run for what 4,000, you cover a distance of 4,000 kilometer. You see there is an increase here in the speed, and also increase in the distance covered. So if you increase your speed, you increase your distance covered. That's another case of variation. All right, these are the two major cases of variation. There are other cases of variation which are more like a derivative of those two basic cases. All right, now having said that, okay, let me do this for the speed and distance. Now, in this relationship, every parameter here has a name. Okay, so in this case now, the cost, let's call the cost C. This guy is called a constant, a constant, and Q here as the quantity. So the constant does not change, it remains the same all throughout the, provided the constant does not change. Okay, this relationship will always hold. So that if a cost of the cup of rice becomes 500 naira, then you're only going to be able to buy 2 cups. You're not going to affect there will be no increase in the constant value. So provided this constant value is always there, then this relationship will always hold. Provided you have only 10 hours to drive, if you increase your speed to 500 kilometer per hour, you're going to cover 5,000 kilometer. All right, so that's it. So why I've said this is because of what we want to do right now. So you need to understand it. Now, this type of variation where the cost is, where something is increasing, that's the quantity, that's the cost is increasing, and the other quantity related to the cost is reducing, is called an inverse variation. All right, inverse variation. Why? In this case, where this one quantity is increasing and the other quantity is increasing as well, this type of variation is called direct variation. All right, so we are going to look at those two together and how mathematics actually models it. Okay, let me take you quickly over to the types of variation we have.